Hey, what's up everybody? It's your boy Proftrof, and today we're gonna be reacting to a video that's a little bit close to home, I guess. This is Geography Now Bulgaria. As y'all know, your boy's Bulgarian. So let's check it out. I'm interesting. Hopefully I don't get triggered. I hope he doesn't say some shit that's gonna annoy me. I hope not.
Bulgaria, Bulgaria. Where have I heard that before? Oh yeah, Victor Crumb from the Harry
Yeah, fuck. Yeah, fucker. Come on, bro. Is that really what people know Bulgaria from? Harry Potter?
Potter books. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, now you want to watch this episode, right?
It's time to learn geography now!
Hey everybody, I'm your host Barbie. I'd like to take this moment
Barbie?
to coin a term, tripster. A tripster is a travel hipster, someone who is so over the mainstream tourist destinations and they only prefer to go to the bleakest, most obscure regions of the planet. That being said, tripsters watching this video, take notes. Also, let's dissect the flag. The flag is a tricolor consisting of three equally sized horizontal bands, white, green, and red. When it comes to symbolism, even Bulgarians themselves aren't 100% sure exactly.
Excuse you, motherfucker. The white means peace, humbleness and stuff. I don't know how to translate most of the words. Green means nature and youth, yes. And red is like bravery, and it also represents the blood of the fallen that have fought for our freedom. Okay, what do you mean, Bulgarian? We studied this in school. This is actually a thing we learn in school. What do you mean Bulgarians don't know what the colors mean? Who do you know is Bulgarian that does not know what they mean?
What each band means. However, it's generally accepted that they are inspired by the Pan-Slav nationalist movement colors. However, it's also kind of accepted that these are the definitions. The white represents love and peace and freedom and spirituality. Yes. The green represents the youthfulness as a new liberated state, agriculture, character, and the beauty of nature. And the red represents the valor and, once again, the blood spilled of those who fought for the country.
Okay, don't say it like that. Please don't say it like that. A lot of people have died to give us our freedom. Okay, and it's kind of sad when some motherfucker says it like that. This annoys me a little bit. I'll be honest. Your boy I don't get easily triggered, but these are topics that get your boy a little triggered. Don't say it like that, okay?
And for the heroes of Bulgaria.
A lot of great people have died for this
on.
country.
Very few people actually know where Bulgaria is on a map, but when you look at it, you'll kind of realize that its position is kind of important to the entire continent of Europe. First of all, Bulgaria is located on the eastern part of the Balkan Peninsula, bordered by 5 other countries, and the Black Sea to the east. Since Bulgaria is Europe's closest point to Turkey, it's kind of seen as like the crossroads between Europe and Asia. The capital is Sofia, located in the west, and the country is divided into 28 provinces, and the capital Sofia acts as its own province as well. Sofia has a wonderfully unique ambiance as a city that still retains its residue shavings from the former Soviet.
Okay, let's be honest. Sofia is fucking ugly compared to some of the other cities we have. I think that's a general thing for most countries. Like, a lot of the tourists that go into a country think that the capital is like the most beautiful thing they've seen because it's different. And usually if you ask someone from the populace, they're gonna tell you that there's a lot better looking cities. I think that's been a general trend from the places I've visited. So I think it's the same in Bulgaria.
Democratic appeal that exudes through the billboards and media. About 80% of the border with Romania rests on the mighty Danube River, and the borders with Serbia, Macedonia, or the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia,
we don't talk about Macedonia.
and Greece rest on the mountains and hills like the Balkan Range, the Pirin Range, and the Rhodope Range. Bulgaria is very lucky because in addition to having a nice geological mountainous shell to encapsulate the eastern side, they have a wonderful Black Sea to the east, which has played a heavily influential role in the development of the Bulgarian nation. The coast is classified as a humid subtropical climate zone with an abundance of pristine golden beaches, the most popular ones off the coast of Varna and Burgas. In the Black Sea, Bulgaria owns 5
the most popular and the shittiest ones.
small islands and islands, each named after a saint and each with...
I actually spent like 4 months working in Sunny Beach, which is like, I think around here. And yeah, that was not enjoyable.
Unique charm and backstory. For example,
most people I interact with were either Russian or English.
Thomas Island is one of the only places
Not that
in
many
all of Bulgaria
Bulgarians.
where cacti grow. St. Ivan Island, which supposedly has the remains of John the Baptist from the Bible, and St. Anastasia Island, which had a jail
I've
that
not
prisoners
visited
escaped
any of
from
these.
long ago. Bulgaria's land comprises of a lot of history, to say the very least.
True.
In the south, by the Gorna
I mean, the country has existed since 681. Like, calculate how long that is. That's a long ass time for a country to exist. I mean, it's been taken over a couple of times, but I mean, we're still here, so yeah.
Coast, you have the Perperikon, the Thracian city ruins of the strange ancient culture of the Thracians. In Kazanluk, you have the Thracian tomb of Kazanlak. Yeah, the ancient culture of Thrace had kind of a lot to do with this area. Nobody quite exactly knows what the downfall of the Thracians were, but reading into historical accounts on how they acted on a regular basis, it's not that hard to speculate on a few probable theories.
We're sociopaths.
Yes, you are, Thrace. Yes, you are. Now, of course,
Okay,
the
buddy.
monuments tell a funny story, but the natural land formations get even crazier. The Bulgarians have a saying: when God divided up the nations amongst the people, the Bulgarians were late, so instead God gave them a piece of heaven. Now, whether or not you agree or disagree with that, you
buddy.
can't deny the fact that Bulgaria does
Yeah, it's
have
awesome.
some pretty nice grounds. First of all, the country is divided into two general topographical areas: the mountainous east with the Balkan, Rila, and Rhodope ranges, and the low-lying flatter Danube Valley and the
Your boy is about right here, I think. This is where I live. I actually have a castle ruins in my town of Lovech.
Trakiska lowlands, in which
Awesome
multiple
layout.
rivers and lakes can be found, in addition to the majority of agriculture plots and grazeland for livestock. Speaking of which, if there's one thing that Bulgarians are proud of, and I'm not even joking, every single Bulgarian I talk to has mentioned this, it would be their unique yogurt. Now, a lot of countries make great yogurt, and
Don't say it. It's not. We don't call it. We do not. Oh, buddy. It is milk. It is not yogurt. It is sour milk. So saying yogurt. Why do everyone?
people will tell you that the Balkans was actually the birthplace of yogurt. However, Bulgaria
It's
is
not
the only
yogurt.
place in the world where the yogurt is fermented with the Lactobacillus bulgaricus culture that is only found in the air of Bulgaria. This bacterium gives the yogurt a distinct twang and flavor unlike any other yogurt. And
I mean, that and rose milk, right? We're known for roses and trachea.
milk coming from cows or sheep that typically graze off of high herb-rich pastures, enriching the product with even more health benefits. You come to Bulgaria.
We don't talk. I'm gonna be honest with you. When I went to America, I did not know that this was a thing. So I go into the first, I go into Walmart and I'm like, where the fuck is my sour milk, buddy? And I'm like, I'm trying to explain what I want to buy to an American. And the dude's looking at me like I'm some weird ass foreigner. I mean, okay, yes I am, but come on, bro, help your boy out. Turns out they don't have that shit
You
there.
don't mess with
I
our
did not
dairy
find
products.
it.
You buy it. You buy it. Of course, you also have the Black Sea, which Bulgaria has been dependent on for centuries for trade and business, but also has been capitalizing on for tourism. Many Europeans consider the Black Sea coast as kind of like their secret getaway spot that nobody really knows about because everybody's so
Yeah, because it's so cheap for them. Literally, it's extremely cheap for them. It's expensive for Bulgarians and extremely cheap for foreigners because the economy is fucked.
concerned about thinking
It's
that
the usual
Barcelona
thing.
and Nice are the only places that you can go to. Ugh, Valencia, I've been so over that for years. I prefer Burgos. Of course, you've probably never heard of that. Now, here's the cool thing. Because of natural borders by mountains in conjunction with wind and weather patterns and water flow, Bulgaria is home to a wide variety of entertainingly strange natural landmarks, such as the Belogradchik eroded rock cliffs, the stone
Been there.
mushrooms of
I've not been
Beliflas,
there
the
yet.
Popti Kamani stones.
Nice.
Also keep in mind the Popti Kamani area, in addition to the Tabernas region of Spain, is one of the only two naturally occurring deserts in all of Europe. And then we get to something that Bulgaria is definitely not in short supply of: caves and waterfalls. We reach
True.
places like the Devil's Throat
True.
Cave with the world's highest underground waterfall, the Devetashka Cave with holes in
Been
its
there.
ceiling, the Eyes of God Cave
Been
in
there.
Prohodna. In fact, Bulgaria has over 4,500 charted caves in its entire country. Also, keep in mind, 32 of the 37 species of bats in Europe call Bulgaria home. So if there's one thing you can take away
Yeah, and sometimes the caves, like the cave around my place, was closed so that the bats can multiply or whatever at one point.
from this, it's that Bulgaria is a very cavey place. Waterfalls also speckle the landscape, mostly in the
Not necessarily. We have a shit ton of mountains as well.
eastern mountainous regions. The tallest one in the Balkans being the Resko Praskalo, the picturesque Krushuna Falls, and the town with the most fortunate fairy tale view, Vrasta, which has the Skaklia, a waterfall looming above their skyline on the mountain ever flowing from the cliffs adjacent to the direct vicinity of their town.
Pronunciations are clear.
I just can't even.
Now, if you ask Bulgarians, one more thing that they'll tell you that they're proud of is their roses. Roses are cultivated all across the entire country, but most heavily in the Rose Valley, just below the Balkan mountain range. Bulgaria produces over 70% of the world's rose oil, a substance used for pressing on the petals and also most commonly used in perfumery. They have so many roses that typically the abundance allows them to have rose festivals in which they parade around with roses, have a rose queen beauty contest, and they kind of just end up dancing around and throw roses all over the place. Kind of like the La Tomatina festival in Spain, except it's a lot cleaner and more smelling. Wow, that's the second time we've contrasted Bulgaria with Spain. Let's see if there's any more parallels in. Now, Bulgarians may be Slavic, well, kind of, we'll explain more about that in a bit, but they definitely have their own Bulgarian way of doing things. Bulgaria has a population...
Careful, this is a little bit of a sore topic to most Bulgarians.
Kind of, we'll explain more about that in a bit, but they definitely have their own Bulgarian way of doing things. Bulgaria has a population of about 7.5 million people, most of whom identify as ethnically Bulgarian at about 85%, 9% of the population being Turks, about 5% are Roma, commonly referred to as gypsies, making Bulgaria the country with the third highest gypsy population, and the remainder of the country coming from other nationalities. Now, here's the sad thing. Since the fall of the Soviet Union, Bulgaria has one of the highest population declines in the world. They used to have around 9 million people back in 1990, but since then the emigration and death rate has surged past the population growth rate, and since then Bulgaria has seen a rather alarming population decline in the past few decades. This all had to do partially with company privatization and the social structure investments going completely out of whack after independence from the former Soviet Union. Statistics project that about 60,000 people leave Bulgaria every year, and in 2012, 24 towns were completely wiped off the map as they were completely abandoned, and about 170 towns are on the verge of extinction. The good news though is that this makes Bulgaria one of the perfect places for cheap shopping, real estate, business, and cheap vacation getaways. In fact, since recently joining the EU and NATO, which has by the way caused a lot of controversy, Bulgaria has seen a completely unprecedented level of tourism and business booming. Yeah, economic nerds, Bulgaria is the kind of place where you might want to consider pulling a Warren Buffett. I'm just saying. Ethnic Bulgarian people will tell you that they have roots from the Bulgar tribes, which nomadically came from the eastern...
They won't tell you, that's a fact.
regions of Eurasia, as far speculated as the Central Asian regions, until they eventually settled down into what is now known as modern Ukraine. Eventually they came down and mixed in with the Slavs and formed Bulgaria. So
by mixed in he means, you know,
technically, a lot of people in Bulgaria could have Central Asian roots, and considering how far the Huns extended their reaches, that's not completely out of the question. Culture-wise, Bulgaria is proud to proclaim itself as the birthplace of the Cyrillic alphabet, used by over 250 million people in Eastern Europe and Central Asia, extending as far as Mongolia. Oh, and one more thing, just like we talked about in an earlier video, like some regions in Albania, Bulgaria is one of the only few places in the world where people shake their head to say yes,
yeah, that's
and
actually
nod
true.
their heads to say no. Now,
another funny story. When I went to America the first time, I remember I went to a fucking job interview, and they're like, so can you come to work tomorrow? And I'm like, you know, doing the yes thing. They're like, and they look at me weird. I'm like, why? And they're like, so you can't come in tomorrow? I'm like, yes I can, while I was shaking my head. They're like, so is that a yes or a no? Because I'm shaking my head no, which for us is a yes, but I'm saying yes, you know.
Well, let's talk about the people Bulgaria interacts with. Now, Bulgaria has one of the most anomalous core of companions that you would never really expect them to engage with comfortably. First off, the strange thing is, in 2004, in addition to other former Soviet states, Bulgaria took a bold step and joined NATO, and 3 years later joined the EU. This was kind of a big deal considering the Soviet-linked past and the ties that Bulgaria was rooted in. This move also opened up Bulgaria's diplomacy to unparalleled standards that they never really had before. All this kind of puts Bulgaria in a very unique intercessory class status when it comes to East versus West. Typically, Bulgaria will kind of act as like a mediator for the EU and NATO when it comes to cross-operational engagements. When it comes to the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, commonly referred to as just Macedonia, Bulgaria has a strange relationship. By all means, these two
strange? Okay, buddy. Okay, I want to see what he says about this.
Speak the same language and have pretty similar backgrounds as Slavic nations. The problem is where things went down.
No.
Down about 80 years ago. Basically, this is what Bulgaria says. Look, Macedonia, we want to love you guys. You're basically just Bulgarians, but you've been brainwashed by Georgy Pilevsky into thinking you have some kind of indigenous Hellenistic roots. You don't. You're Bulgarians. Just accept it. To which the Macedonians say, shut up, Bulgaria. You don't know us. Okay, we are descended from Alexander the Great. You belong to Macedonia. I don't want to say it's kind of like the North-South Korea thing because it's nowhere near that level.
That is actually extremely accurate.
animosity, but in a fundamental sense, ideologically, it is kind of like the North-South Korea thing. They generally do not favor Turkey that much because for 500 years they were under the Ottoman Empire, and they pretty much hated every second of it. It wasn't until the 19th century when they finally gained their independence with the help of the Russians fighting alongside with them. This means that Russia is kind of seen as like the brother friend of Bulgaria. Even though in every aligned organizational sense, they kind of took every step away from Russia, and even though they
Well, I mean, yes, they help, free us, and then they fucked our economy for the next probably 100 years, but it's
taken over by the Soviets for a long time. Tensions are low and they still get along great. However, Romania is kind of seen as like the new boyfriend that Bulgaria just started dating. Especially after joining the EU, relations are fast. The presidents regularly visit each other and hang out.
Romania's cool as fuck. I love y'all.
Two countries across the Danube where people love to visit each other, and Romanian-Bulgarian marriages are not uncommon. In conclusion, wax your mustaches and put on your skinny jeans, because if you are so over the mainstream, you might want to just stop by and smell the roses. Stay tuned, Burkina Faso is coming up next.
Okay, that was pretty good. That was pretty cool. Let me know what y'all think. I want to see what y'all think about this. What y'all think about my country. My country. My country, brother. Special thanks to Bulgarians. Okay, those seem like Bulgarian names. Fuck, it might be spice, might be Macedonian spice. Okay, anyway. Let me know what y'all think about this. I said my piece. I just want to see what y'all think. Like, comment, subscribe, and see you next time, everybody. Have a nice fucking day.